But basically, the idea that I had was, okay, you have two people. Basically, how do we explain two different opposing views? We want to explain something through two opposing views. We'll do that through Hallel and Shammai. Okay, whether or not they're real people or not, who knows? And my point was basically that we don't know necessarily of Hallel and Shammai outside of the Mishnah. Well, this person switches. The reason I was confused because he switched videos and continued to comment on the first video. Anyway, with that said, so he says, can you sustain your false messiah with historical evidence? No. And then he makes multiple quotes from various different people. And now I understand what he's saying. He's saying, in other words, okay, if you want to take the line that Hallel and Shammai weren't real people, then you have to take the line that maybe Yeshua wasn't a real person either. Okay, I understand what he's saying, and he's not saying that Yeshua wasn't a real person. He's saying that outside of the Gospels and outside of basically the apostolic scriptures, you don't have much mention of Yeshua. Now, granted, I would say you have more mention than you do of Hallel and Shammai. Not the point. I guess, here's the difference I see. Now, I'm not, once again, I think that Hallel and Shammai certainly could have and probably were real people. Are the quotes in the Mishnah and the Talmud from Hallel and Shammai actually from them? No, I don't think so. I think that it's from schools and or maybe just trying to make a point. Why do I say that? And this person doesn't have to agree with me. Why do I say that? I say that because I see the Mishnah and the Talmud as responses more than anything else. They're trying to respond to the fact that assimilation is happening from Jews into Christianity. There's the rise. First of all, the temple's gone. This is basically people don't know what to do.
You can kind of think of it as an attempt to build an alternative to the temple based on scraps of things that were from the first century.
Right.
And to resist the gospel at the same time.
Right. And one of the things that I think there's not been enough work done on this is the idea that the Mishnah responds to Christianity a lot. And we've talked about this multiple times on this show. For instance, the Afikomen at Passover. I mean, come on. Afikomenos. Melito of Sardis was the first person to use this term. It means the coming one. I think it's
a Greek term, right?
Right, and I think that the Mishnah now incorporates something to say we had it first. There's a lot of this going on. You know, the whole thing about if a stream goes up, reverses and goes upstream, can we say it's of God? No. What if the walls bow out? No. I think that we can see all of these things being related to a response to Yeshua and the Gospels.
Sure.
And so, a fig tree gets uprooted and thrown. Well, anyway, the point is that one of the reasons that I think that the Mishnah could be using fictitious people, which I'm not saying necessarily they do. I'm just saying the idea of Hallel and Shammai being these great schools in the first century, I think that the rabbis are using something as a response to Christianity and in order to uphold and keep Judaism alive after the temple is gone. Whereas the Gospels are not that way. The Gospels are a biographical narrative of the Messiah on earth, and Paul afterwards talking about what has happened now.
From multiple witnesses.
Right, exactly.
And not only that, not all texts about Yeshua from the first couple centuries are all, quote, orthodox. Right, you have the Gospel of Thomas. You have the infancy stories.
Right,
all these different stories and lore about this person that aren't part of. They're not inspired. And then you have the passages from Josephus, and the scholars have really, they've done surgery on that to try to parse out, what did Josephus actually write? And because some claims, Christian copyists later inserted it to make it look like Josephus was a source. So there's fraud, claims of accusations of fraud on the basis of scribes.
Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button and check out more videos from Messiah Matters.